So the day has finally come. I am leaving Robinhood. Now in 2014, I started my investment journey back when trading wasn't free and you had to pay every time you placed a trade and you bought and sold a stock. And at just 25 years old, back when I was making about $50K a year, I managed to save and invest my first $100,000. Something that I'm really proud of still to this day, and that was the start of everything for me. I started right where Warren Buffett says everyone should start, which is with index funds. Now, at the time, I was using Vanguard, which still to this day looks like a website from 1995, but that's what sparked my interest. And then later, I became a dividend investor because I liked the idea of watching my money make money for me, and it gave me a lot of confidence. I probably made dozens and dozens, if not over 100 videos on Robinhood on my YouTube channel, and I was never paid to do any kind of Robinhood review. It's just something that I had a passion for a very long time, and I still do today, but I want to share with you why I'm leaving Robinhood, the platform that's been such a big part of my journey. In this video, I want to cover three main things: the recent Robinhood lawsuit with the SEC, why I'm moving my portfolio and where I'm moving it to, and how you can transfer your own investments if you're considering doing the same. Because you don't actually have to sell your stocks and then buy them somewhere else. There's a much easier way to do that without having to realize your gains and losses and then paying your taxes. And I want to show you how. So with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the hood. Now, before I show you why I'm leaving, I just want to take a moment to appreciate the impact that Robinhood has had on the investment world. When they first launched, Robinhood completely disrupted the brokerage industry at a time when platforms like Fidelity and Schwab were charging fees for every single trade. Robinhood introduced their commission-free trading, and that forced the whole industry to compete with them, and they eventually dropped their commission fee structures as well. Now today, almost every major brokerage offers commission-free trades. It's the bare minimum to survive, and that's all thanks to the pressure that Robinhood applied. They democratized investing for everyone by making it accessible, which was especially helpful for young investors just starting out, like me. But Robinhood also has a history of controversy. The most famous that we probably all remember is the GameStop saga in early 2021. That's when Robinhood temporarily stopped allowing people to trade several stocks like GameStop and AMC, and they even disabled the buy button at a time when these stocks were going through what's called a short squeeze, and the price was skyrocketing. Now, this decision caused a lot of people to understandably get upset, who felt like the platform wasn't prioritizing retail investors like their name suggested, right? Robinhood.
Good swordsmen, good archers, good fighters. Are you with me?
But Robinhood argued back that it did what it did to meet, quote, clearinghouse deposit requirements, but throughout it, Vlad, the CEO, went through a really rough time, and overall it was a really hot mess. And at the time, I wasn't really affected by any of this because I'm a boring dividend investor and all my stocks are boring blue chip stocks, and in other words, nothing that I was doing was affecting my investing, so I stayed with Robinhood. But recently, there was news of a lawsuit with the SEC, which now raises more questions. So let's talk about this lawsuit that Robinhood just settled with the SEC. Now, Robinhood agreed to pay $45 million to settle allegations about a data breach and other violations. This actually goes back to November 2021's data breach. According to the SEC filing, approximately 5 million users had their email address exposed, and about 2 million users had their full names compromised. And for a small subset of people, for about 300 or so, personal information, including date of births and zip codes, were also accessed. So it's not exactly a small issue, and even though data breaches do happen from time to time, it does erode trust for a platform, especially one that's responsible for your financial security. But that's not all. The SEC also found that Robinhood didn't properly oversee its compliance procedures, which resulted in a lack of safeguards to prevent issues like this from happening in the first place. And this is not the first time Robinhood has gotten into hot water with regulators. Some of you might also remember their $70 million settlement with FINRA in 2021, which was over outages and misleading communication. And for me, I've just always thought that a brokerage should prioritize security, stability, and transparency of the platform. And when you're managing hard-earned money for millions of people, Mistakes like this probably shouldn't happen. So with the recent change to my strategy, I also decided to spread out my investments across multiple platforms to maximize my insurance and minimize my risk, and that's where today's sponsor, Public, comes in. Public is an investing platform that lets you invest in a wide range of assets: stocks, ETFs, options, bonds, and crypto. And one thing that really stood out to me is how transparent and investor-first their platform is. They offer a high-yield cash account that's currently giving 4.1% APY with no fees, no minimums, and unlimited transfers, so your cash doesn't just sit there, it actually grows. But Public also has this AI tool that you might have heard of called Alpha. Instead of getting bombarded with random market news, Alpha gives you focused insights about your specific investments. So for example, whenever I open the Public app, I can see a bunch of notifications from Alpha that clue me into everything in my portfolio. And instead of just telling me that my stocks are up or down, Alpha actually explains the why behind the move. It saved me so much time digging through earnings reports and news articles and all that other stuff. Alpha just scrapes everything for me. And if you're thinking about spreading out your investments, or you just want a more transparent way to invest, head to public.com/Andrei to check out Public. You can fund your account in 5 minutes or less, and you can earn up to $10,000 when you transfer your old portfolio over to Public. Again, that's public.com/Andrei. Just remember that all investing involves risks, so please do your own research to find out what works best for you. Thanks to Public for supporting the channel and helping us all invest smarter. And now let's get back to it. But for now, let's talk about why I'm personally leaving Robinhood. The lawsuits are one piece of the puzzle, but they weren't really the deciding factor for me. One of the main reasons why I'm taking my money out is diversification and safety. Now, I'm not taking all of my money out of Robinhood. I'm just taking enough to be safe. Now, if you don't already know, banks have something called FDIC insurance, which insures your money in a bank for up to $250,000. But there's also something called SIPC. SIPC covers up to $500,000 per account in securities, which is a fancy word for stocks, and this includes up to $250,000 in cash. Now, for years, my portfolio has grown beyond these limits on Robinhood, and I've had over 7 figures in my account, which is not a safe thing to do. If something were to happen to Robinhood, I would only be able to get back $500,000. And ideally, I'd like to get all of it back. So when you hear the word diversification, that doesn't just mean buying different stocks and assets. It's also finding the right mix of platforms to lower your risk. So by taking some of my money out of Robinhood, I'm moving my portfolio to multiple brokerages and lowering that risk. And that means each account stays compliant within this SIPC limit, which gives me an added peace of mind, which right now, it's not. It's still over that limit, but I'm working on it. Don't get me wrong, Robinhood has been super instrumental in my journey, and I do think Robinhood gets picked on way more than the average brokerage, especially on social media, because it gets the most views. And that's because of how popular this app is and how many people actually use it. I think they deserve their success, and they did revolutionize the entire industry by getting rid of these trading fees and making it accessible to everyone. But as my portfolio has grown, so have my priorities, which is safety and security. Now, if you're thinking about leaving Robinhood or another brokerage app that you're actually using and you don't want to use anymore, you don't actually have to sell all your stocks and then buy them back again and then have to pay all of your taxes on top of that. Let me walk you through how to transfer your investments instead. This is the best and most direct way to do it. The process is called an ACATS transfer, which stands for Automated Customer Account Transfer Service. It's a system that makes it really easy to move your assets from one broker to another without having to sell them. And if you want, you can do what I did, which is called a partial ACATS transfer, which means I only transferred a specific part of my portfolio instead of all of it. So in my example, I took my VTI, my stock or ETF, which was over $500,000 in one stock, and I moved it over to another brokerage. I moved it to Chase. Now, the app is not as nice as Robinhood, but it's Chase, and if they go down, the world has a lot more to worry about than money. But here's how ACATS works. First, you choose your new brokerage. Before starting the transfer, if you want, you can open a new account. Now, generally speaking, this transfer will cost between $50 to $100 to do, but there is a way around it, and here's how. Step 2, once your new account is set up, you can log in and look for the option to transfer your account. Most of the time, you can just have the new brokerage you're moving your assets into do all of this for you. All you have to do is just tell them, I'd like to be a new customer and I'd like to do an ACATS transfer. Would you be able to do this for me? And would you be willing to waive the $100 fee? Now, depending on how much money you're transferring, most brokers you will give your money to will be very happy to pay your transfer cost for you. So double check which ones offer it and which ones don't. A lot of the online apps you're gonna see advertised on social media run these kinds of promotions all the time, but they don't really advertise it. So just double check. Now, number 3, you wait for the transfer to complete. ACATS transfers usually take between 5 to 7 business days, but I've seen them take as long as 2 weeks sometimes. So while you're waiting, your assets will be in transit and you won't be able to trade them. So just keep that in mind if you have any short-term plans. And then number 4, you just review your new account, because once the transfer is complete, you should double check and make sure that everything was transferred over correctly. And then number 5, bonus step, you can just close your old account if you want. Personally, I'm not gonna close my account with Robinhood, because instead my goal will be to eventually reduce my assets to be below $500,000 so that I'm within this SIPC limit, because I still like to use Robinhood. It's a pretty straightforward process, but it is worth planning ahead. And if you're nervous to do this, don't worry, I was too. But just remember, all of this is to protect your wealth. And one feature that I really hope Robinhood introduces in the future is the ability to title or retitle our accounts under a trust. As of right now, Robinhood does not allow its users to set up the account as a trust. And at this point in my life, that's really important to me because I just want to protect myself as much as possible. So if you find yourself in a similar position as I am, I really encourage you to look at what's out there, whether it's due to exceeding SIPC limits or if you're just worried about security. And if you are, the ACATS transfer process makes it super easy. Let me know down in the comments below if you've ever thought about switching over. Thanks for watching this short video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see you back here next week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.